What's
There
going
we
on,
go.
Deb? How are you today?
Yeah, good. This was
Good.
this was the least talking we did before hitting record, I have to say.
Yeah. We just jumped right into it.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
what we talked about that because we talk so much before we hit record. We don't even no one gets to hear any of any
it's
of the
true. It's
good.
true. Yeah. It's yeah, I don't know how people do it. I mean, I don't know. I always feel I guess it's a little different between you and I, but I know some podcasts, and I'm sure you listen to podcasts too, that the guest sometimes will be like, "Are we recording?" And they've been talking for 5 minutes.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
I always just feel I don't know how they do that because I would just feel uncomfortable doing that to a guest just because
Right.
like
Just record.
yeah, well, sometimes we've had conversations with guests ahead of time,
Mhm.
or whether we're getting to know them, like we're meeting them for the first time on Zoom, or it's someone that we're actually a little bit closer with that feels a little bit more free to share certain things with us. It's
Right.
like, oh, we're not recording, and we want to make sure they know
Mhm.
that. So I always feel I can never do that, even though
Yeah.
it is fun sometimes hearing that on a podcast. But
Yeah.
um yeah, no, we typically talk a little bit more, but today we just jumped right into it.
Jumped into it. I know. Well, and I think I mean, we're friends now. I know I used to call us co-friends, but I'll just call us friends. I know
Yeah,
we've stepped up to that. So we
look
just
at
like,
that.
I know, look at that. After how many years? I lost track. I say 1 year, like after every 5 years. So how long has it been? 3 years?
See, that's funny. I usually say three, and I don't even know if that's accurate anymore. But
I
like,
have two.
I'm with you. I do. There's like a number in my head. I'm like, three,
Pre-COVID.
maybe.
Like, no, I think it's been 3.5. I don't know. I'm saying three.
So, oh, yeah, I don't know. It was 2019, I think we started.
But right before, yeah, because before COVID. But my point
Yeah,
being is that like we need to catch up and we're just, talking and saying stuff. I've noticed that, with us and and then with because I do the same thing with Crystal. When I first started podcasting with her, we would just kind of say, she would just say, "What do you want to talk about?" And I'd say it. She's like, "All right, let's go." Boom. And I'm like, "Okay, let's go." We're talking. But
yeah.
now, like I recorded with her on Sunday. I think we talked for like a half an hour before we hit record. Like we're just
Oh
catching
man.
up. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think I think that's just what happens too. But I remember last week we recorded, I remember saying like, we need to hit record earlier because
Yeah.
not, but now I'm just like, I don't even know if people care what we talk about beforehand, but some
Probably not. If I
probably
had to
not.
guess, probably not. But that being said, we appreciate everybody who is still listening, even after all these years, however many years it's been. Um, yeah, no. So you recorded this past weekend with Crystal.
Yeah, yeah,
How
we
many
did.
how many episodes did you guys do?
We did two. They're gonna be nice and juicy, so
Oh,
it'll be good.
awesome. Very
Yeah.
cool. No, I've been meaning to ask you this on that podcast. Like I told you before, I'll listen a little bit. I can't. I'm not gonna lie and say I listen to the entire thing, but I do skim. But I
Right.
have noticed a couple times. It seems like you're the one that comes up with the topic. Is that right?
Yeah, that's my job there. Yes, yeah. I come up with
Yeah.
I come up because and it's funny because things just happen in my life and I'm just like, okay, this is what happened last week. So are you cool talking about this? And she's like, oh hell yeah. And then we'll just talk. Like one of the topics that I came up with was something that specifically happened to me a week ago. I went on a whole rant about it on Instagram. So we talked about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one was just a topic that one of my friends helped me come up with. She like, I'll ask my friends too. I'll say, hey, what do you want to hear on self-love for breakfast? And then they'll say,
That's a
well,
good
can you
idea.
talk about how, they'll just give me ideas like, how do you break up with someone or how it's mostly relationship stuff.
Sure.
So yeah. So, and then, yeah, I just kind of bring the topics to her and we just jam out. And I don't tell her, I used to text her ahead of time
Yeah.
and now I just tell her the day of, like, as soon as we log on and say hi on Zoom, she's like,
Right.
well,
Right.
talking about today. I'm like, well, this is what I got. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. No, it makes sense though, because I mean, she's obviously awesome at what she does. Sorry, I'm adjusting things a little bit. I just this past week we did an episode. I did an episode with Blake Kidwell and Travis
Yeah.
Cole, and we did it at the office that we used to record at in person. I thought that'd be a fun one to do in person. But that being said, I shifted all of this, like my lighting and stuff here. So it's like some of the stuff is just a little bit off. So
Yeah.
um please forgive me, everybody, if I'm like trying to adjust stuff. But uh, what was I had a question for you about the stuff that you do with Crystal. Oh, what I was gonna say, no, it wasn't even a question, it was just a statement. Like, she's so good at what she does, and she's like a wealth of knowledge for each
She does.
topic.
Yeah.
That yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that she doesn't have any idea what's coming at her before you guys start recording. It's like,
Yeah.
here we go, and then jumps in. It doesn't even feel like it.
Yeah. Well, she's a life coach. So it's like
Yeah.
anything I bring up topic, she can like talk about or, speak her knowledge about it or her 2 cents or whatever, or her own life. She's got a lot of crazy stories herself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you heard her, like where she got shipped off to boarding school and all that stuff. So anyway, she has all kinds of, to this day, that I'm still finding out as we talk on her podcast, things that I didn't know about her, and topics that I like in the back of my mind. I'm like, well, she's married, so I don't know, but I'm just going to bring it up. And she'll be like, oh yeah, we can talk about that. I'm like, okay, cool. And she has all kinds of stories on her end about, different things, with relationships and dating and stuff. And so, yeah, so she's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, no, she actually shared when you first got connected with her on Character Combine, she actually shared her story, and I'm sure it was just a portion of her story, but yeah, her being shipped off to a cult and all that. It's
That was insane.
pretty wild. And yeah, it's always weird when someone tells stories like that and it's just very matter of fact. It's like, oh, you've told this story quite a bit and this was just your life. You know what I mean? This
Right.
was not like a bizarre, it's a bizarre thing, but it wasn't like it was just so routine for a while that you just became used to it, which is really a very weird thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, that's awesome. So you guys have two coming out. But yeah, I was, like I said, I was just always wondering how that came to be, like you coming up with topics. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool that she trusts you that much. You know what I mean?
I don't know why she, and then she'll be like, well, your life is way more interesting. And I'm like, you mean more drama? Then yeah, like call it what it is. Like, I just have more drama that happens, which I mean, it's good material, I guess. And good. And it's, and it's good for me to talk about too. And sometimes I'm like, am I the only one going through this? And there's no way. So it's always,
no,
it's always good to kind of put it out there and to kind of have it floating out there so that someone feels like they can relate to it.
Oh, for sure. Well, I don't know if I feel like this is a pretty common thing. At least I've talked to Rachel about this before. There's different moments where we were in the market, her and I separately and together, both in the market for cars. And you start kind of narrowing down which cars you kind of like. And then all of a sudden, when you're on the road, these cars that you maybe have never seen or noticed before, all of a sudden you start noticing, right? It's like, oh, I'm looking at a truck, and then all of a sudden you see that very same truck that you kind of have your eye on, right? Do you feel like, is there anything to that as far as like the stuff, the drama, the things that you deal with in your life, that because you're on a podcast, or you host a podcast now, now you have two podcasts, and you're um, I don't know, like a partner, a guest host on another podcast where you share a lot of those things. Do you think that has anything to do with, like, do you feel like, obviously you've probably dealt with a lot of this stuff for a while, but do you feel like you're more perceptive of like the stuff? Like, it's like, not saying that you're like, oh, I'm going to talk about this on a podcast, but it's like, oh yeah, I've talked about this all the time. Oh, here's another story I can share.
I'm just more aware that it's okay to talk about it. I'm more aware that like there's more people than not that probably would like to hear about it. And when it's funny because before we recorded on Sunday, it's Tuesday now, so that was 2 days ago. The thing that happened, my whole social media thing that I posted about, that happened on that Friday. Before then, I'm like, I don't know what we're going to talk about. I've been so boring for a while. Like, I literally have been just going to work. I got a new second job. I go to boxing. I go home, or I hang out with my friend. Like, literally, it's just been like so chill.
Yeah.
And boom, it always seems to happen. Like, I don't know, stuff just happens. And, or I'll ask my friends, what would you like to hear? But no, I think I'm just more aware. Not that in the back of my mind, I'm always like, oh, I should talk about, like, I'm not trying to take every opportunity and like broadcast my life,
Sure.
on on all these podcasts that
Yeah.
people want to listen to. But I think after the fact and after I'm thinking about it, I think I just feel like a tug on my soul that like, I need to share this because I'm sure someone else has been through it. And I know for myself that when I'm listening to other podcasts and situations are brought up and topics are talked about, I'm always like, oh, good, it's not just me. And that always just makes me feel better and it helps me deal with, that on my end. So I think I'm just more aware that it's okay to talk about.
I gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was just curious because I feel like sometimes when you start doing things like that, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
the weird, it seems like the weird stuff starts happening or it happens more frequently. It's like, this is weird timing. So I was just curious, but did you want to talk at all or a little bit about your Instagram stories
I
situation?
mean,
I mean, not
yeah.
situation, but what you I guess,
the
excuse me,
situation.
what you shared on Instagram,
Well,
or not. You don't have to.
I mean, basically what happened was, yeah, no, because I tell the whole story on Self Love for Breakfast, which comes out later. But like,
Oh, perfect.
long story short, a guy that I went on 2 dates with like 2 years ago, and I haven't heard from since, found me on Snapchat, like really random. So he started talking. So I'm like, hey, like, how the hell have you been? Like, I haven't heard from you in 2 years, whatever. And so we're just talking. And then basically we're like, okay, let's go out and like on this day, like, let's just go kick it and like have a beer or something. And so, I mean, we literally like reconnected for like maybe a week, maybe less than a week. Like it was very short, like, and then on my Snap, and my Snap is more private, it's not, I think I have 40 people that look at my, like, it's a very small number. Like it's not, and how Snap works is that you can't, I mean, I don't even need to explain it. People who are listening probably know how it works, but like you have to be following each other. It's not like my Instagram page where it's open and anyone can basically see what I post, all the stories and stuff. So
Right.
on my Snap, like I posted some, to me, it was funny. I thought it was funny. It was like, I was about to go down to the pool with my friends actually here at my apartment and they weren't here yet. So and it was so hot that it was like 110 that day. So I had my bikini on and I'm just walking around in my apartment, just ready to go to the pool, but just up here. And then I put my cowgirl hat on that I took to the Luke Combs concert a few weeks ago. Anyway, I was just trying to be funny and I posted a picture of me in that, kind of saying like, I will be walking around my apartment all day like this. Thank you very much. Like with the hat and everything, like
Yeah.
it's too hot outside. Like I just, whatever. So he saw it and he basically texted me and he basically was like, yeah, so this isn't going to work out because clearly you need social media attention and you don't put much effort into this anyway, and blah, blah. And I'm like, excuse me, sir, what? Like, and so I
Ugh.
basically was like, I basically was like, I don't know what to say to that, but okay. Like,
Huh.
good luck. Like, I just basically was like, okay, that's fine. I didn't argue any, but he like kept going. And then and then he said again, like, yeah, you don't put much effort into this anyway, with what you're posting on your stories.
Hold on.
And I'm
So
like,
can I pause you real quick? Because
yeah,
I just want some clarification so I understand fully. He means like putting effort into connecting with
like,
him.
yeah,
Interesting. Okay. No,
right.
well, at first I'm like, I don't know why, but at first I'm like, was he talking about your body? I'm like, that's aggressive.
That would be
I'm like, you're handling this very well. Okay.
like,
I don't know why. I didn't think that's what you meant, but I just wanted to make sure.
like, it's like not, that's like not even much worse than what was happening, like with what he was saying anyway, but
Sure.
like,
Sure.
no,
Yeah.
right. But that's funny. But no, so I said, I don't know what my stories have anything to do with you, but okay. I said, okay, like, thanks for, I thanked him. I said, thanks for reaching out and trying again anyway. And then he continued and then he said, yeah, I can see why, like, he basically said, I can see why you're single, or I could see why no one wants to date you, or like I could see why the last guy didn't want to date you. Peace out. And then he blocked me because like literally right after, I'm like, you don't even have the balls to like let me respond. Like you're just gonna like shoot those things off to me and I was so nice in my responses, but I had so many things I wanted to say, so many
Sure.
things I could have, and so whatever. And so
Huh.
like, because I tried to send something back. I think what I wanted to send back was, wow, low blow. Okay, cool, whatever. That was it. And then it wouldn't deliver. And that means like,
They
I'm
blocked
just
you.
guessing. Right. I don't know. And then I looked and he's not on my social media anymore. And I'm like, what a freaking weirdo. Like, what? And so it was one of those things where it's like, I wasn't upset. I didn't lose sleep. I think my old self would have been upset like years ago. I would have like probably felt bad about myself. I probably would have felt guilty. I probably would have like, I just am like thinking
About, sorry,
about
okay. Sorry, go ahead.
like about what he said like years ago. Like I like my old self would have been like had my feelings hurt basically.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
like and I'm sitting there and I'm like and I'm just like laughing. I'm like, that was really weird. And I'm like, whatever. And so, but then I'm also like, no. And so what I did was so on my Snapchat, I posted another, like a different, like another bikini picture, basically, just basically saying like, look, someone just literally told me that I seek social media attention. And I'm here to say, I don't care. Like, I'm going to post whatever I want. Like, if you think this is me seeking attention, then that's cool. Like, go for it. And then so that was on my Snap, whatever. So I just wanted to address it on Instagram because I'm like, I wonder how many, like, do guys do that? Like, do people do that? Do people like, I mean, I get everyone's different, but it was just it was one of those situations where I just need to say something. So it was, I don't know. So I just kind of went on a quick rant about what happened, what he said, what I did, like what I posted. I just basically said the story and I was just basically saying, like, I'm going to post what I want. And it's not, and if you don't like it, that's fine. And he did make it clear that he didn't like it. That's fine. But like the things he kept saying after, I'm like, dude, do you have to say all that? Like, that was so rude. Anyway, I don't know. So I'm over it. I didn't lose sleep over it, but it was just one of those situations where it's like, it was very controlling, very manipulative, very like, obviously I'm glad he showed that side so I could like just be done with it. But
Sure.
it just like, it hit a part of me to where I'm like, I felt like, I wanted, like, at first I want to defend myself. And then if any other girl is going through this, I want you to be able to defend yourself too. And no one gets to tell you what to do ever. And like, it's just, and if that's not for you, if you don't want to be with a person who is posting or whatever, then you're not compatible, then that's fine too. But like, don't change yourself because someone like is so insecure in themselves or is controlling and doesn't want you to post that. I don't know. And so anyway, Crystal went on to say that Crystal's like, well, I'm married and I've been married for years and I post bikini pictures all the time. And like, my husband is fine with it. Like, it's just, and everyone's different. Like and then that's not to say that you have to be okay with your spouse or whoever posting that. It's like, you guys probably are on the same wavelength anyway, but it bugged me with the way he went about it. And I just wanted to just put it out there and just give women permission. Like, you don't have to, like, no one should be able to control you or speak to you like that. But not that he and I were anything, so that didn't matter. But it was just one of those things where I just haven't been spoken to or treated like that in a very long time as an
Yeah.
adult 30-something-year-old. And I think he's older than me. So I was just like, how old are you? It was just the whole thing was insane. Like, the whole thing was insane. I thought
Yeah.
so, to me.
No, it seemed pretty strange. I mean, just like when I first watched it, just on my limited knowledge, and I'm gonna be honest. At first, I'm like, I'm not gonna pay attention to this, and then when I saw a small rant, I'm like, well, if it's a small rant, then I'll take a listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, very bizarre. But I think what you said too is interesting. Like, and I'll say this. You had mentioned it. If you're in a relationship with someone, maybe
Mhm.
that's a conversation that people have. And what their spouse or significant other post. And who knows, there might be reasons why they prefer them not to post certain things, right? It could be, like you said, it could be an insecurity that they have to deal with. It could be something that has to do with their business. Maybe there's a certain image, a lot of different things. But I think the key thing that you said multiple times is, what Crystal said, or Crystal, that's her spouse. Other situations, that's their spouse. You're not married to this dude. So that's what I thought was really strange.
Yeah.
Also didn't need to be said. I guess that's the part that I'm hung up on a little bit too. um it was just not necessary to even have that entire conversation or that interaction. It could have
Yeah.
just been like, hey, I feel like we're kind of on different paths here, and I don't think it's going to work out, right? Just like a normal not even a breakup, I don't know what you would call it, but
Yeah.
just explaining that, hey, there's no more interest here, and you could have
Yeah.
kind of left it at that, however you wanted to word that, but
It
to
was,
explain why, it was very bizarre to me from the outside. But
right. And then
what
to
do I know?
say no, and then to say no wonder no one like the other, like your other boyfriend didn't want to be like, and then to say that, I'm like, come on, dude, seriously, like obviously I give this much like care about what you think, like zero care about what you think, but like it's like, do you treat all women like this? It just made me defensive for all women everywhere. Like in 1 second, I was like, oh hell no. Cause I mean, I'm at the point in my life where like I'm secure in who I am. I'm obviously okay being single. You know this. Like we've had several talk. Like I've been alone for a while, so it doesn't break my heart that like if nothing works out. But like it just made me upset. I hope you don't talk to women like this, and I hope that
You should probably give up that hope, but
whoever,
it's a nice thought.
it's a nice thought.
It's a
It's
nice
okay.
thought.
So,
I think there's a lot of signs pointing the opposite direction, unfortunately. But
yeah,
um,
it was so bizarre. And anyway, I'm way beyond it. I'm over it. I think I kept that energy for Crystal on Sunday and then let it go. I'm like, it's a thing of the past for sure. But
yeah. Well, that being
and-
said, let me ask you one more question about that though. 'Cause I
yeah.
was thinking about this, um, and we don't have to talk about this very long. But was there any? Was this completely out of left field, or was there any
Um,
any? Geez, I can't speak tonight. Any indication? Any indication that this was, this dude was kind of strange?
well, so here's the funny part, like when 2 years ago, when we went on 2 dates, the dates went great. Like they were kind of back to back, even like they were on the same week. We went to the same restaurant, sat at the same bar seats, like we're joking around with the same bartender. Like it was just, we had a good time. And then all of a sudden, like nothing, like he ghosted, dropped off, like I didn't hear from him. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. And that's kind of that's why I mentioned that in my story, because that part was strange. So he basically ghosted. Don't know. And so when he came back around this time, I kind of asked him about that. And I'm like, what happened last time? Like, why are you reaching out now, 2 years later? Like, what's the deal? And he's like, oh, I was at a weird point in my life. Didn't want to drag you through anything. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm like, dude, you ghosted me 2 years ago. You reach out to me now. You ask me on a date. You're asked like, and then you say all these mean things. Like what? And so I guess it wasn't a complete shock when that happened.
Sure,
I
that's
just,
still aggressive for
right.
sure.
And I felt like I was 19 years old again, or like 18 again. I'm like, what? Like, we're in our 30s. I think you're older than me too. Like, anyway, it was baffling to me. I just didn't know people in their 30s talk to each other like that anymore. It was crazy.
Yeah, I don't mean for this to be inappropriate, but I imagine that most guys, if it was an 18 or 19-year-old, they'd be psyched if the person was posting a bikini picture. So I don't know what that guy's deal is.
Right.
When did you?
Right.
Yeah, that's my thought at least. I feel like in exactly the exact opposite. Like they wouldn't say anything to mess it up. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
like she's posting this. This is awesome. What was I gonna say? When did it? So let me ask you this: when did this guy, your first couple dates? What time of year was it? Like fall, winter? Because I'm just wondering, was he not ready for bikini Deb? Like, did that freak him out? Was it not summer last time?
It was not summer. I don't
That might
think.
have been it. He wasn't ready for it.
I think it was spring. I don't know. I don't think I don't know. Maybe it was summer. Who knows? Right. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. But
He
like,
liked you with like the
I
hoodie
guess
and the
so.
sweatshirt. Yeah.
That was such an insecure response. I was like, are you
Yeah.
joking? Like, I'm not like what? And the way I talk, like, I don't, anyway. So, when he said social media attention, I guess that was like, what? Who do you
Huh.
think you're talking to, sir? And so So I went on a rant and I just wanted to give people permission. You can post whatever you want. Like, I don't like, and I think, and you know why I think it hit something in me, I think, is because when I was in my early 20s, when I was married, I didn't post anything specifically for my husband at the time, for him to like get upset over something. I think it was more of a dumb situation where like one of my ex's friends liked something on my Instagram. It was stupid. It was so, he got upset and he kept bringing it up. Like, and then I just deleted my Instagram. I just didn't want to deal with it. So like, obviously lightning speed, fast forward to now, for that to happen, like, I'm like, do not try to control me. Like, and so I think that hit a nerve, and I just wanted to like, just kind of put it out there. Like, you can post whatever you want. Like, no, like, then it's not going to work out, but also, I don't know. And so, I mean, obviously, like, it's kind of a blessing in disguise. If he blocked me, I'm like, oh, cool, then I'm not going to hear from you. Great. But it's like, yes, it's fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. It's just, it was a right then and there type of rant that was like perfect that I had to do. But yeah, it was just very bizarre.
Yeah. Well, no, and yeah, for sure. Cause you don't do that. I think you even mentioned it, that you don't really do that type of stuff, very often. So yeah, that's a bummer. But like you said, blessing in disguise, or not so much. Blessing in the blocking, however you want to word it. But
in the blocking.
Yeah, something like that. But anyways, before we jump into the topic, I think last time you and I recorded together, we've actually done a string of these solo episodes, which has been a lot of fun. But I think, was it last time we talked about, actually it was today, the one that released today, which probably a couple weeks ago, we're talking about tattoos, and you got your arm and shoulder done, right?
I got my sleeve finished. Yes.
Perfect. Like, that was crazy time. We just talked about it. And if you guys are not watching the video right now, and just listening, Deb is showing off her shoulder. So if you guys want to check it out at like the 25-minute mark of the video. You can see the work that Deb had done. That's awesome.
Yeah. It came out. I knew I wanted it. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I kind of let my tattoo artist do what he wants to do, and that's what he did. And I like it. I think it looks good.
Same guy for all the work that you have.
Yeah, most of it. He did most of the stuff on my arm. My forearm, someone else did, but everything basically from my elbow up, he did.
Got it. Very cool. Very cool. Are you comfortable with sharing where you got it done?
Yeah, Royal Peacock.
The Royal Peacock.
Royal Peacock, the East Sac location. There's a Midtown one and East Sac one.
Perfect.
So, Jason's my guy.
There you go. We haven't done connection suggestions for a while, but there you go, everybody. If you're looking for a tattoo shop, from what I can tell, they do dope work. So check it out.
Thanks.
Anyways, just thought I'd bring that up because I'm like, I saw that in your stories. I'm like, oh, we actually just talked about that, so that would be fitting.
Yeah.
Last episode we talked about it. Now it's done. So very cool. Deb, what are we talking about tonight after we just spent 27 minutes on your dating?
After half an hour of just rambling about random stuff. It's funny. Sorry, one more ramble. Oh, yeah, please. The Girls Gotta Eat podcast that I listen to, they do the same thing. I love it. It's nothing bad or anything, and I'm not saying we have to do this every time too, but they ramble. Just they do life updates. They do whatever updates for half an hour, and it's probably the funniest half an hour like ever before they get into their actual topic, because they just they boom 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 all these crazy stories. But anyway, we're not as funny as them. Try to be, but
actually, not to interrupt you, but I started listening to another podcast that's really funny. If you enjoy comedy podcasts, and if you enjoy, like, I listen to a lot of different comedians and their podcasts, so they've had a lot of these people on the podcast, but it's called Are You Garbage? And it's really funny. It's these two guys from Philly. They're two comedians, and they basically have people on their show to determine whether or not they're garbage people. And so it's just the funniest stuff. Like, they'll ask questions like, I don't know, did you have do you like Pop-Tarts or toaster strudels? And then based on their answers, they kind of just have these conversations and funny rants. And then at the end of it, it's like, oh yeah, you're a garbage person. Like, did you, like, one guy's like, did you guys, have this kind of ice cream or that kind of ice cream? And the guy's like, well, we had this ice cream, and my entire family would just grab spoons and eat the ice cream together. He's like, well, that's garbage behavior. So it's really funny. I heard about it from someone. I started listening to it, and yeah, just the whole concept is really funny. Like I enjoy it. So
Like the guy who called me, like the guy who said I need social media attention is garbage.
yeah, I would say calling someone out on Snapchat about what they're wearing and for no reason,
Oh my
that would
God.
probably be considered garbage. Yeah, they're on the path for sure.
It's the first time a guy has complained about me posting a bikini pic ever.
Like I said before,
I'm like, what?
like I said before, I don't know. I think, yeah.
So funny.
Who knows after this episode drops, you might get like a flood of like requests on Snapchat. Like, she posts what? Sure, I'll join Snapchat. You know what I mean? You never know how this stuff's gonna go. So for the one guy who was offended, you might get like 30 that are all into it. So good luck out there, Deb.
Right. It's a nice ratio.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But anyway, I want to talk about goals today. Not necessarily like, I don't know, like not, I guess, goal setting and I don't know how maybe our personal experiences with what we do to stay with our goals. I don't know if you want to talk about what kind of goals that you like to meet. Maybe falling off on goals. I do that a lot.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So I don't know, goal setting was just kind of on my mind too.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. And I feel like, those things change. It's one of those things that I think sometimes we do without realizing it. Sometimes some people are very aware of goal setting. And I'm sure some people have their whiteboards in their office. They have stuff in their calendar in their phone. They have stuff written out. I mean, I'm sure that some people have it so dialed in that it would probably just make some people have like get a headache. Like, oh my gosh, this is wild. And I think some people just, they say, yeah, I have some goals, but there isn't much more to it, right? Like, I think most of us, without thinking about, would probably have things we're trying to accomplish, and everything in between. So, for me, it is interesting. I think you hear people talk all the time about how the more specific your goal, the better, right? Because I think the more specific you get, the more clear the steps are on how to get there, the more focused you are on it. And I think everything else kind of falls into place. Not falls into place, but I think you set yourself up for success when you have a very specific goal, right? And you're a trainer, or you used to train people, right? And I'm sure you had people come in that would say, hey, I want to lose weight, which is great. It's a great goal as a very, very broad general goal, but it's going to probably be, and you're the expert in this area. It's probably gonna be really difficult if that's where your goal stops. It's like, I want to lose weight. It's going to be tough to really focus in and narrow down what you need to do to get there, because it's too broad, right? Like, what are you trying to lose weight for? What reason? Are you trying to go out and run a marathon? Are you trying to be a better runner? Are you trying to just be healthier? Are you trying, like, you don't know what the situation is. So the more specific it gets, the better it is for trying to actually obtain those things, right? And so I've seen that for myself before, where I'll have like, I want to lose weight. I mean, that speaks to me. I want to lose weight, get in better shape, kind of falls off. And then I start thinking, okay, this is what I want to do specifically. I want to lose this much weight. I want to, gain this much muscle. I want to increase or decrease my running time, or I want to, get faster, all these different things. And then I feel like when I have that, then everything becomes a lot easier and I actually see results. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, and I'm sure like everybody says that about goal setting, but I think if you're really serious about obtaining some kind of goal, I think it doesn't have to be like, I think we always think about weight loss or, career goals, but it could be, I mean, I even have, there's stuff that I've been doing around our house in our backyard. And when I actually like, sit down and list it out, like, I want to, this weekend, I want to accomplish this, this, and this. It's weird. It typically gets done, you know what I'm saying? But if I just say, hey, I should probably do something in the yard and clean it up, it doesn't get it. I might get some of it done, but
Yeah.
you get distracted a lot easier and you're just not as focused. So
Right. For sure. Yeah. It's funny. I had my simple goal that I had a few weeks ago was, school had gotten out and, I had a week off of work before I went to Seattle, that one weekend. And my closet was the messiest it's been ever. I keep my apartment pretty clean. I think I've said that a few times on here. My closet was and I have a nice walk-in closet, just the way my apartment is set up. It was a giant mess. I'm like, I don't wear half these clothes in here. I can barely walk on the floor. This is ridiculous. I just had random shit just like everywhere. So my goal was to first of all have it all picked up, like basically do like a cleaning haul, like because I usually move every year. I'm proud
Mhm.
of myself that I re-signed this place for another year, so I'm not moving.
Oh,
And
that's a
so
big deal for you.
a huge, I know all my friends are like, wow, like who are you? I'm like, I know. I re-signed this, staying here for another year. I love
Awesome.
it. It's great. Yeah. This
Cool.
is my favorite apartment so far. So I'm like, I need to treat this like I'm moving. And so I literally like I took everything like I was about to, like I took everything out. I took everything down. Anyway, long story short, I did get my goal done. I had my whole closet cleaned. I had 7 bags of clothes hauled off to Goodwill before I went to Seattle.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bad. Like yeah, and everything was clean. And it just felt so good. And I knew that I wasn't gonna feel good if I came back from Seattle going straight into summer school and everything is still a mess in there.
Right.
So anyway, I was proud of myself for that small little goal because I normally don't hit my goals most of the time, which I'm sure people can relate to that, depending on what it is. But yeah, that was a win for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I think that's a really important thing too, right? There's different levels of goals that we set,
Right.
right? And again, some people may not think about it this detailed, but if you really are trying to like achieve some goals or obtain those different goals, I think even those small goals matter a lot. The small goals, I think, lead to the inspiration and the motivation to go after the bigger goals. Because there, like you said, there's just something about it. I don't know if it's an endorphin thing. I don't know what it is, but like there's this feel good feeling that you get when you can check it off your list, right? When you said your closet was a mess, you cleaned it. Now, when you every time you look at it, to me, it's inspiring, right? It's like, oh yeah, now like you just feel better because you got that thing done, and I think it encourages you to go after other things that you're maybe trying to pursue. Maybe that next one's a little bit bigger. Maybe it's something else that you're trying to achieve. That's bigger than cleaning your closet, right? And it's bigger
Yeah.
than some of the daily tasks, but it still is like a stepping stone to get to that point. And so I don't think any goal that we set, any thing that we try to achieve is too small. You know what I mean? And for
Right.
some people, like sometimes I think we prevent ourselves from going after certain goals because we think about maybe what other people would think about this goal or that goal, and really at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? Like if that is something that means something to you, then
Right.
make it a priority and go after that thing. And something we talked about with I talked about with Trav and Blake on the Father's Day thing is, and this has always been a big thing for me, and I know I've talked about it on here. I have goals as far as this podcast and other things that I'm doing, but the one thing that I can't do is, sacrifice family time or time with my wife or time with my kids because I'm pursuing this one goal, right? Because that would, to me, that you step into a different world where you go from being focused and driven on your goal to being selfish about your goal. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes you have to be selfish when it comes to your goal. But for me personally, I'm not speaking to anybody else unless you feel the same way. I just can't sacrifice the things that I love most for this thing that I'm pursuing. So that being said, I set this kind of standard for myself where if I want this stuff, if I want to do the podcasting thing, I've got to make sure I make time in my schedule that doesn't conflict with everything else. Now, here and there, there's times where we've recorded earlier in the day rather than late in the evening, but it's only because I know things are good at home and
Right.
everything's all good. So, there's been times where you and I were supposed to record, but there was sick kids or some kind of emergency came up, and I said, "Hey, I hate to do this, but I can't record today after all." You've always been really gracious, and I appreciate you for that. But it's just one of those things where it's like I personally can't do it. I know some people feel differently about that, but it's one of those things where like when I am pursuing something that I'm really passionate about, I've got to figure out a way to do it
Mhm.
without sacrificing in those other areas that mean even more to me. And so,
Right.
and I think I personally believe there's a way to do it. Now, not everybody's going to enjoy that process because what that requires is sometimes you have to stay up later. Like, I'll be honest with you, this is not a brag or a pat on the back. It's nothing like that. But like, I've been working on this episode, the one that we posted last week. At this point, last week will be the one where I post with for Father's Day with Blake and Trav.
Yeah.
and it requires a lot more. We did it in person. We did video. There's a bunch of stuff to it. On Saturday, I was up until 5 a.m. working on it.
Oh my God.
I just got hooked on it. But guess what?
Yeah.
That in 3 hours, I was up with my kids and with my family, still doing that thing. Again, that's not like a pat on the back for myself. It's just like, I knew if I wanted to get it done,
Yeah.
it's
You
going
could
to
do
require a sacrifice on my own, free time, if you will. You just got to figure it out. You know what I mean? Was I tired? Yes, I was, but it was fine. They have energy drinks for that stuff. It's all good. And so,
Right.
um, that was just a long rant, but that's my thing. Like, when you
Yeah.
hear people talk about, hey, there's no excuses for you, right, to not achieve your goals. I
Mhm.
think that's true, but I also think it depends on your situation, and it looks different for everybody else, right? Like
Sure.
like how you and I pursue our goals is going to look very different because our life situation is very different,
Mhm.
and that's okay. And I can't place like I'm like I can't be like, hey Deb, why aren't you staying up until 3 or 4 in the morning working on your podcast? Like it doesn't make any sense. And for you to say it's like, well, why don't you just why would you stay up that late? It makes no sense. Like, well, for me it does, and for you it doesn't. Like that's where there's not really a cookie cutter answer to these things. I don't think. I think there's some general ideas, but
Right.
and anyway, sorry, that was a long-winded rant.
No, well, it reminds me of no, and you're right. Like if it's something that you're passionate about and you want to do it, you will find a way to do it. Um, I mean, we all know this. Like I don't have, I have no kids and whatever, but there a few years ago, um, when I finished my second book that is not published and is still sitting in my drive. So there's another goal that I will get to later when I feel like it's important. But
Oh, hold on. But is
I
it, I'm sorry, I mean to interrupt. Is it actually, is it edited yet?
it's finished, half edited, half of it is edited. I literally remember stopping halfway through it because a friend read through it. I have my friends read it
Yeah.
to pick stuff out for me and to like pick their brain too, because when you read it over and over, you're like, I don't know. I don't like someone else. I need a different set of eyes because I'm not picking anything. In my mind, it's great. And that's not true. So I'm leaning to someone else
Right.
to look. So my friends
Right.
read it
That
and
was
they're
smart.
like, right. So they told me the ending is way too rushed. And I agree. And here's why. I have a perfect explanation of why the ending is rushed. It's because I put myself on a deadline because I wanted it ready for this writing conference that I went to, a small conference in
Yeah.
Stockton at UOP. And they had a book like you turn in a book you wrote and just you can win a prize or if they pick your book or whatever.
Cool.
And so that was for me, that was like, oh, this is perfect. That's going to be my deadline because then I will sit down and I will be inspired and I will write. And I did, I finished it. Like there's one day where I sat down and I busted out 10,000 words in like 3 hours. Like
Wow.
so I'm like, I did it. I got it done. I printed it. I printed the book like literally the night before I was leaving for that conference. So I did it. I got it done. And that's why the ending is rushed because I had to like hurry up and finish it. So anyway, it's half that part I need to fix. I honestly haven't been back to it like in like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And I'm okay with that because I'm like, that's not my goal right now.
Yeah.
One day it will be. I'll go back to it and I'll open it and I'll reread it with a really fresh set of eyes because I haven't read it in so long. But that was something at the time that was such a rush, like for me it felt good and the whole world didn't need to know or anything and I didn't need to win that contest and I didn't. But for me it was just something like, okay, I can do it. Like it was kind of
Yeah.
like a myself, if I want to do it, I will figure out a way to do it. I just needed, for me personally, I do need a kick in the butt sometimes, like a deadline. I'm used to that stuff. I'm a teacher. I used to be an athlete. Like you have to give me a time frame and I will figure out my schedule and I'll get it done.
Yeah.
So.
So I have a couple of questions. Two of these are both just random. One's a question, one's a thought. I realize that someone I work with actually knows your friend Deb Lee.
Oh yeah.
I'll share off here. I don't want to share on here.
Okay.
But yeah, that was funny. I found that out last week.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, this is a dumb random question, but those choose your own adventure books?
Yeah.
How difficult, as an author, how difficult would that be to write? Because it's like a weird structure to those books, right?
Yeah, because well, I don't know. See, that's in my brain for me personally, because I write my books just from start to finish,
Right.
like, and it honestly depends on what I'm feeling that day, of how I want this chapter to go. Like, what am I feeling? Like, what kind of emotion do I want this character to have right now in this moment? Blah, blah, blah. So for my brain to wrap around the bouncing around and jumping, okay, go to this page, go to this page. Like, I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah.
So,
I was always been curious, like how you even do that or structure that. Like, do you write the whole story out? And yeah, I don't know. Because I think, aren't those choose your own adventure books, you can just like read all the way through, right? And then but when you get to that page, I don't know, it's a bizarre thing. I'm always
it's
impressed
been a
by how they
while.
did that. Yeah, it's been a
I've
while for me. It's
It's
like
been a while since I've read one of those books, so I can't remember like how the structure is, but like I do remember like you can bounce around the book if you want to. I don't know how authors keep up with that, but it's the same reason that my friends will be like, I don't know how you sit down and write a whole book. Like, how do you write? How are you so detailed? And I'm like, oh, like it's just the way our brains work sometimes. Like those
sure.
authors that like totally makes sense in their brains. It's crazy.
Yeah, last time I read one was a Goosebumps book. It was like a
Yeah. I
Goosebumps,
used to do that.
like a hidden, not a hidden, haunted carnival. And tell you what, there was definitely some anxiety with some of those choices. You know,
Hmm.
didn't always end well. And so,
Um,
but yeah, those are interesting. But
those-
anyway, that was a dumb thing that just came to my mind.
no.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
No.
sorry, you were talking about the goals and your book and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm, you're just talking about how, finishing, the episode for the podcast, like you're like, I stayed up till 5 in the morning and like, that was fine with me. And I got up a few hours later and I was just saying for me, like something similar, like I just bam, finished my book and met my word count requirement. I try to do between 80 and 100,000 words. And so
How many pages does that translate to?
I mean,
Just roughly.
I probably like three something or almost 400. Like,
Oh,
okay,
that's a decent
well,
sized
it
book then.
depends. Well, it depends on, are you talking it like if I had my copy of Chasing Hope, like it's an actual book that I made on Amazon and like you can order them and it's like a book.
Yeah.
I think that has like 375. But if you're talking about a Word doc, like printed out page by page, it's different.
Right.
So I know people are always like, well, how many pages is that? And I'm like, oh, I don't know how to, it depends. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I will say this,
Right.
most typical novels, fiction are between 80,000 to like 120,000 words, like
Gotcha. Okay.
80,000 being the minimum. And that's like, and then this is me doing my own research of like that's how I got started. Like, how long is a book supposed to be? Like, how many words do I, cause that's how I base my writing is off by word count.
Right.
But that being said, I just I don't, how often would you say, maybe aside from the podcast, since that's pretty regular for you, how often do you make other goals for your life, would you say? Like on a weekly basis, a monthly basis? I guess it depends, but like I'm trying to think of my own, like, do I make a goal of something every week or do I just subconsciously do it? Or I mean, there are bigger goals that I've made for myself that have happened and haven't happened, but like have taken years type thing, like getting into this apartment, buying my own car, like stuff like that. But I'm just trying to think, do I make goals every week? or do I just do my routine? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, no, that's an interesting question. I think I probably do. It's probably a mixture. I'll say it's a mixture.
Mhm.
Like I said, there's definitely some bigger projects here at our house that I've been working on. That is a much longer process. So you kind of know what the end goal is, and there's pieces that lead up to that, right? And so that one's definitely planned out more because it might require extra help from my brothers and my dad, like extra, just extra muscle there, to help me out with certain things. Some things are, being dropped off or delivered and all of those different things. So some of that stuff, it's like you have the big main goal, and there's like these little mini goals, right? The micro goals that lead up to that and help you build up to that major goal. So for something like that, it's a little bit more planned out. But I think all of us have goals that we maybe like subconscious goals, and maybe they're not, maybe you wouldn't call them goals, I don't know, but things that you need to take care of during the day, right? Like there's just certain things that, you know, like I think I keep going back to it, but like working out, right? There's an I have an idea of what type of workout I want to do, and um, at what time of the day I can do it, and so you're trying to plan out when it's going to be, possible. Um, so yeah, I think it depends. I think we all have different versions of those goals, but if you're talking about like a bigger goal, yeah, I mean, I don't. It's weird. I don't think I have a ton of crazy goals. I mean, mine are pretty simple right now.
Mhm.
Um, the getting in better shape is always, I think, it's always a goal, and that one's like, I don't even think it's like a new goal every time. I think my mind is always on trying to get better in that area. I think the type of goal, or the way I do it, changes, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like I think getting in better shape is always the goal. How I
Yeah.
get there, I think, changes from time to time,
Right.
um, based on the season, right? Like based on what my schedule is, based on
Right.
all of that stuff. Like there's, obviously during the summer, I love getting outside and doing more. And I feel like there's more options available to me during the summer.
Yeah.
It's lighter later, right? I can go run and work out later and all these different things. Winter, the
Like
goal is
still
still,
outside base. It's like
yeah,
just now.
exactly.
It's almost fine.
Exactly. Which is really nice. And I feel like
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. But I think the goal is always the same, but like the steps to get there change, you
Right.
know. And sometimes, it gets lazy, and during I mean, as much as I try not to let this happen, things happen during holiday seasons and busier times during our schedule where that stuff becomes more difficult. And again, I've always said, I don't think that means the goal disappears, or the goal has to be removed from your life. I think it just means you have to get more creative in how it manifests itself, right? Like how you achieve those things. Like I've said this before, I would much, and I know I don't know if this is a popular thought or a not popular thought, but when it comes to like getting in better shape, I would much rather go to the gym and just do like regular lifts. Like I would just prefer that. I really don't enjoy like the ones I post, like the hit workouts, the ones that you've posted and shared before. I really don't enjoy those. Like I really don't like burpees. I don't think anybody really likes burpees. I really hate them. Oh, you do like them?
I surprisingly have come to like them. I mean, I don't want to sit here and do 1,000 of them, but when I think because I forced myself over the years to do them because I knew I hated them.
Yeah,
Um, when I do them at boxing, I get all excited. I'm like, oh yeah, burpees. Like it's the same. It's the same
interesting.
response as when they're like, okay, everyone go outside and run. I'm like, oh my god, yes.
Yeah,
Like, no, I don't know why. I don't know why I enjoy them. Even when I'm tired, I do. I don't know. But again, I don't want to do 1,000. Like I'll do
no,
like
no,
I'll do like 5 sets of 10 and be cool. Like,
right.
but I don't mind them anymore. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I still hate them, but I'm at a place right now where I'm getting better at them, and
Yes.
so I'm trying to. I don't know if you've ever felt that before. Whether it doesn't have to be a fitness thing, but just anything. Maybe it's your writing. But you get into a zone where it's like, okay, the thing that I really didn't enjoy doing, I feel like I'm getting better at it, and I feel like I need to ride this wave as long as possible. Whereas before, 10 burpees would just destroy me. And I'd be like, man, I'm good for the day. Now, I did a workout the other day, which was brutal. It was, you start off by doing 20 burpees, and then you run 200 meters. And then you do, squats, lunges, push-ups, and then you basically go back and you kind of do like a pyramid thing, right? With the running in between. And
Yeah.
then at the end of it, you do 20 more burpees. And I can tell you, it was awful. You know what I mean? But I do feel like I was in a place where when I looked at the workout, I'm thinking, oh, I feel I would be okay with doing this. I know it's going to suck, but not as much as it would, because I'm in this place where I've been doing them a little bit more consistently.
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you what, though, I found a workout because I follow a couple of these uh, WOD pages
Yeah.
on Instagram. One of
Mhm.
them I have not had the guts to try yet because I don't think I'm there yet, and I don't have the time to necessarily do this. I know it's going to take a while, but it was some bigger runs around a track, but then you start off with doing 120 burpees. The thought of that, yeah, I would try to find it, but I don't have it. It would take too
Too
long.
many.
Well, that was just, I mean, you're doing like burpees throughout this entire thing, but like you do 120 burpees and then you run like 1200 meters and then you do 80 burpees. And the amount of burpees that you're doing is insane. And so at some point I'm like, maybe I'll give it a shot, but I'm like, this is going to take me forever. It's going to take me
I'll be
forever
there all day.
just to do that first set of burpees. I've
Take,
never done that many.
take the zero off of the number of burpees. I'll do it.
That's a good call. That's a good call. Maybe I'll do that. It's like one of them, like a half. How do you do half a burpee? I don't know. But yeah, no, that one, I'll have to send it to you. It's not expecting you to do it. It's just, I don't know. This person's a psychopath. Anyways, I did not mean for that to turn into a burpee
I like
rant.
working out, but not that much.
Yeah.
People think I'm this crazy CrossFit junkie person. I'm not. Like, I just like to run and do sometimes like burpee or whatever, but I'm talking like I said, 5 sets of 10, not like 120 whole. Like, there's no way.
Oh,
There's no way.
shout out to your former neighbor, Damien, for competing in whatever he was competing in.
Oh,
He was doing
dude,
some crazy stuff.
he's been working. I remember when they were still.
Aaron Walker was there too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Okay,
Yeah.
I missed all that, but like I remember him saying that he was training for that and getting ready for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brutal. No, I'll stick with my
Right.
20 burpees and just trying to make it through.
Yeah.
But anyways, like I said, that's just kind of, I feel like with some of these goals,
Mhm.
it kind of just depends. I don't know if it's I don't know if I have too many of the big goals that take a long time. I think a lot of them are pretty like medium-sized goals, things that just need to get done. And
Yeah.
like I said, I have goals with this podcast, and some of the stuff has been a little bit more difficult. But the interesting thing too, and I don't know if you've ever felt this before, but I feel like this with this podcast, like you and I have talked about, for a long time, trying to figure out ways to monetize this, right? And
Mhm.
there's a lot of possibilities out there, but where I struggle, and that's a goal of mine, right? Like I would love to, even, I'm not saying this is going to become something that I do full time. I'm just saying, like, even if it's just a little bit on the side would be awesome. And it just makes you feel good. Like the thing that you're putting out there, the content that you're putting out there is worthy of monetizing, right? Like that would just be cool by itself. But as you start looking at what it would require, and I think you and I talked about this before, it's like, oh, well, there's some like financial stuff that you would need to figure out, right? There's things that you would need to think ahead on as far as taxes, like all of these different things. I'm not saying that we're gonna make a ton of money right off the bat, but like even if you wanted to pursue that road, there's certain things that I would need to take care of. It's not my
Mhm.
wheelhouse. Like that's not stuff that I'm used to doing or I've ever done. So even as
Right.
you're pursuing this goal, it almost requires you to learn and adapt and evolve, like you've mentioned before, different parts of who you are or what like the knowledge that you have, because I want to achieve this goal, but in order to get there I need to learn this and this. It's like, oh, there's a lot of steps to get there, and it's not just taking steps 1, 2, and 3. It's like, you have to learn how to do this, and you have to learn how to do that, and that's going to help you achieve your goal. So that's where some of those goals get really complicated, because it's not just a matter of grinding and
Right.
getting there. It's like there's a lot of steps, and it's going to require more of you than you maybe expect.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, if you're really passionate about it, then you'll find a way to do it. And you'll find a way to learn what you need to learn, and grow in the ways you need to grow to get there. But it is gonna require some sacrifice, and really push you for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Takes you out of your comfort zone for a little
Hmm.
bit.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay to, I mean, you know me, I'm always, giving people permission to, like, if you don't do it, it's fine. Like, you can evolve is like my motto for the year, I swear, because
Yeah.
I've done
Yeah.
many episodes on evolving, but like, that's part of it too. It's like, I used to beat myself up if I didn't meet a goal, or if I like I said in the past, like if I would quit something or like try new things, or like not like, I think it's okay to be like, okay, I didn't reach that goal. Okay, so what? Like, let me keep trying, or let me try a new goal or something. I think it's so counterproductive when people just totally beat themselves up if they don't meet a goal, or, because then you're so focused on not meeting that goal that you just don't make any more goals or, or whatever. So I think it's important to say that it's okay if you don't get to that, like I haven't opened my book that I finished in like a year and a half, and like I'm okay with that. Like I'll get to it when I feel the like passion to do it, because then I know that that's the right time. So it's like timing is everything too, with what you want, to do. Like you have passions at different times, at least for me personally sometimes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's an interesting thing. That could probably just be a whole episode by itself, right? Because
Right. Yeah.
well, because there's a lot to that, right? Because I imagine um I guess it's interesting you saying that, because you can't have it both ways though, right? Like you
Mm,
can't give up on a goal
right.
or move away from a goal and then remain frustrated that you didn't achieve that goal. Like you have to accept the fact, okay, maybe it was
Yeah.
because of the timing, maybe I lost interest, maybe it was something I found out I actually wasn't that interested in or wasn't that passionate about. And so I need to let that go. But you can't also at the same time, like, I really want this to happen, but I feel like I need to step away from it. You know what I mean? Because it's like I don't think you can do
Right.
both things. Like sometimes if you know, again, like I've said before, if you really want something and
Mhm.
you're really focused on it, you can give up, but it's not like you can just give up certain things or certain parts of it and still expect to achieve it. Like it's gonna,
No.
because the problems that you're probably dealing with in some of
Mm,
those situations as you're pursuing your goals are probably still going to be there when you go back to it after your break. Now I get some people need a break and need a timeout. I get that, but like I said, there's an interesting thing to that, right? Like, and again, I'm not trying to pick on anybody here. This applies to whoever it applies to, but again, going back to you as a trainer, it would probably be really frustrating for you to have someone say, "Hey, I want to lose this much weight in this amount of time, or I want to get stronger,
mhm.
and I want to, you know, who knows, compete in this thing." Or maybe they're like, "Hey, I have a wedding coming up, and I want to get in better shape for that." And if
Right.
they're not showing up, and they're not, it'd be frustrating. It's like, well, you said you wanted to achieve this goal, but like your actions aren't showing me that you do. What's like, well, I kind of lost interest. Like, well, okay, that's fine, but you can't get frustrated if you're not right. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because and that's happened several times when I used to train people.
Yeah.
It's, well, you have to do the home. I basically would say you have to do the homework, like, and obviously without shaming them or anything, because there's no, that's not productive at all.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, same thing. Yeah, if I want to, it's all about the talk, but not doing the walk or putting in the effort to try to figure out the walk.
Right.
Of how to get there. So
Right.
I think with goals sometimes, tell me if you agree, I think a lot of people just don't know where to start. Some people I think
Yeah.
just, so I know I've found myself in those situations in the past where you're just so overwhelmed. You're like, I want this, it's over here, but I don't know where I am around it. And I don't even know how I would get there. Like, where do you even begin? I will
Oh
have
yeah.
to I have to say Google is amazing for
For sure.
anything. First of all, you can Google anything in the world and you could probably
100%.
find out how to start something and get an idea. But I think people just don't know where to start sometimes with their goals.
Yeah, I think so. Well, that's like kind of like what I was saying about, this podcast. There's certain things, and then I start, doing the Google searches about certain financial things or all of this stuff, and then also my eyes get big. I'm like, man, there's a lot to this. And then
Yeah.
again, it starts. There's moments if I start researching that stuff at the wrong time, I start doubting, like, well, maybe this is even something I can do, this and that. And then, the next morning when I kind of wake up with a fresh mindset, then I'm like, okay, jump back into it, and then, you know, start doing the research again. But sometimes, yeah, I think you're right. I think the idea of a goal can be overwhelming. Well,
Yeah.
that's why I think the micro goals are so important. Kind of going back to what I was saying, I think it's smart to have those little goals. Again, going back to your example of your closet, if your house was an absolute disaster and it was a
Yeah.
mess and there was stuff everywhere, and you wanted to paint the walls and you wanted to upgrade certain features of the bathroom and the kitchen, and your closet was a mess, and you looked at that entire thing and thought, I'm going to clean my house, I'm going to fix my house, and that's where that goal ends. That's going to be incredibly frustrating because there's no direction, there's no focus, and it's just overwhelming because you're looking at all of these different things and you're like, I have no idea where to start, like what's important. So I think that's why those micro goals are so important. And like you said, if you say, hey, I'm going to start by cleaning the closet, you clean the closet. Now every time you look at that closet, it's going to inspire you to, okay, now I'm ready to tackle the next part of the house. And then once that's done, okay, look at the closet and the kitchen. Awesome. Now I can pursue this other part. And I think it's got to start there. But I think if we look at it from that, 1,000-foot view at everything, and it's like, I'm going to take it all on right now.
Yeah.
I don't think that's sustainable. Like, I don't think people can do it that way. It's impossible to me.
Yeah, not for me, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah, I've literally, even in the cleaning the house, example, like I've literally, like, one day I I would just like wipe down all the counters because that's all I had time for. And then the next day, then I would do the floors. And then the
yeah.
next day, then
Yeah.
I'll do laundry. Like I literally have had to break it up in like chunks of like just do a little bit here, a little bit there, it'll get done, you know, type
Yeah.
situation. So, and sometimes that's what you have to do. I have a friend who she would in the past make this long this list so long, and she wanted to get it all done today. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna, I have to burst her bubble every time. You're not gonna get to all that, but you know that, right? And she would try so hard, and she would just stress herself out. But I'm
Yeah.
not a list person personally with weekly or day-to-day or monthly goals. Like I don't really write things down like that. I just kind of know in my head, like, okay, I just would try to remind myself, and this is what I need to do. I'm going to try to get it done little by little. Like with my closet, I walk by it all the time. So of course it's right there. So
Constant reminder. Yeah.
constant reminder, like the reminders or something, but anyway, list, I mean, maybe a list would be helpful for me for some things that I kind of put off on the back burner, like cleaning my work desk. However, sometimes I'm just like, I don't even
Sure.
care. Yeah,
Yeah.
but list could be good, but I swear the long lists, and to have like a short deadline, like just to get it all done and get it out of the way, stresses me out so much. First of all, my ADD or ADHD or whatever, and I'm not like really diagnosed, but I just call it that. Like,
Sure.
there's no way. Like, even when I'm writing my book, like sometimes I would get on a roll and write nonstop for half an hour, but like that would be at the most. I'd have to get up and do something, or I literally would like look away from my laptop and get on my phone for a second, or I'll start eating a snack. Okay. And then get back. Like
Yeah.
I have a hard time focusing for that long sometimes, unless it's talking, of course.
Sure. Sure. It's yeah, a little different. Yeah. Um, no, I think that's really smart, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I don't think there's a cookie cutter way of
No.
pursuing your goals, or setting goals and all of that. I know some people that if they did not have a list,
Yeah.
if they did not have the breakdown on their calendar, it would drive them crazy, and that would stress them out. For other people, maybe
Right.
similar to you, if they have a list looking at them, constantly staring at them, that's going to be the thing that stresses them out.
That would stress me out so bad.
Right. And so whatever works for you, I think is the way to do it. And I think there's like, I think there are certain things that probably apply to every situation. Again,
Right.
I think for some of your goals, you're going to have to sacrifice something. It's pretty rare for you to have big dreams, big goals, for you not to sacrifice anything. Like I personally don't believe it's possible. Now, what you choose, like I said before, for myself, what you choose to sacrifice,
Mhm.
it might be different. I won't sacrifice my time with my family. What I will sacrifice is time and sometimes sleep for those things. That's for me. Some people are like, there's no way I'm giving up sleep. It's like, cool. Then, it's like a constant puzzle that you're trying to put together. Like, how am I going to achieve these goals and also at the same time live life? There's some people, and I'm sure these people, entrepreneurs especially, they're willing to sacrifice just every other aspect of life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they want that goal so badly. Hey, good for you. Get after it. Not really for me. But again, I don't think there's really any excuse for someone not to achieve their goals if they set goals. I think it just looks different depending on what you're willing to give up and how hard you're willing to work for it. I think, what I'm saying? I think it just depends on that. And yeah, like there's certain things that I probably won't be able to achieve because I'm not willing to put in the effort to do certain things, right? I do want to have, I've thought this before. I've never, even in my younger years, I've never had like abs. You know what I mean? Like I would like to, I don't know.
Like washboard abs.
I would like to have that at some point. I mean, and you as a trainer, and be honest, like, I don't know if you can even like say this. I don't know if you would feel confident in saying this, but it's just a podcast. Like, I'm 33. I'll be 34 this summer. Like how small is my window right now where it's like to achieve that without, getting on anything. You know what I'm saying?
To achieve it without like a plan or anything.
No, not a plan. I'm talking like a little
Oh,
extra, you know, little something that they sell behind the GNC.
oh, I
You know what I
see.
mean?
Yeah, I when do you turn when do you want these apps by?
At some point in my life.
At some point, yeah. It is possible, I think. To be honest, I'm not a huge supplement person. I used to be when I was powerlifting, just for purposes of being able to lift heavy, not for aesthetic looks, but just for like, just being strong. Um, I think it's possible because it has the way your body looks. If you have a goal like a poundage loss or abs or whatever, I mean, there's genetics, and then B, it has everything to do with your nutrition. Like,
Okay.
I'm 1,000%, I'm a huge believer in that. And then
Sure.
of course, working out, I think that's like the last thing though, honestly. Well, I mean, you have to work it, you have to obviously
Sure.
to get those abs, but your nutrition is going to be huge.
So okay. So what would you say is the window?
Oh,
Like, do I have until I'm 40?
no, you could get them before then.
No, I'm
Yeah.
just like what like how like I'm looking for like how big is my window. I'm not seeing like how fast I can do it.
Oh, like what year should you just give up and say
Yeah,
not?
exactly. That's a better way of putting it. Like how much time from this point right now,
I know.
like till I mean it's different. People like they always say the people seem a lot younger now. I'm just curious. Not that I'm not my goal is to get these things
No,
before I even push that limit, but I'm just curious, like, has it already passed? I know it hasn't already passed, but you know what I'm saying? I'm
and
just curious.
I mean, never say never, but I would definitely start now. We're not getting any younger.
All right, that's what I was looking for. It's
We're not
that's,
getting any
that's
younger.
the motive. It's go time. That's the
Yeah,
motivation I was looking for. All
go
right.
time. But seriously, never say never. And it's never too late to start. And it's never like I will like same for me. Like I will continuously always like try to stay in my quote unquote collegiate athletic shape. I'll, always try my best. Um, just because like I just like the way I feel. Like I know I'm getting older, but like I will, if I can, will run and lift, and I'm feeling it already, but
Yeah.
like my goal is to always like stay quote unquote like fit and young and try to, because I have a lot, and it's not about being young. I don't really care to be young again. I like my age, but it's just about how I feel and the energy I have. So that's never
Yeah.
should start, but why not start now?
Well, there you go. Well, and if you stay in better shape, then you'll continue to get that attention that you seek on social media.
Exactly.
So
That
yeah,
is like my goal. That's
full
speaking of
circle.
goals, for sure. My goal is social media attention 24/7 around the clock. That was a good tie-in.
Thank you very much. I've been doing this for a while. Um, okay, well, I got some work to do. Got some work to do. I got to figure it out. One day, one day. Well, I want the social media attention too, I guess. So, um,
Josh one day is just gonna pull his shirt up and be like, check these out.
what's up? And then you realize, like, what? It's drawn on. Don't look too close.
Contoured on his abs.
Yes, I did. I did have some chocolate chip cookies. Don't judge me. This is all I can do. So, no, I think that's good. I think that's a good topic. I don't know if you have anything else to say about that before we wrap this thing up, but um, seems like a good place to leave it. Nothing tied into our topic at all, but
That was
um,
good.
I guess so.
Nice.
That is a goal of mine. But but I'll say this for that specific goal,
Kidding.
like getting in better shape, like, and I guess I not just better shape, but like, you know, I've never done like the full like the year, like you bulk in the winter, cut in the spring, and so I haven't done any of that before. I just want to get less fat, like the skinny fat
Yes.
body. I would like to get away from that if I can. What's
Yeah.
interesting about that too is like when I was growing up, I was always really skinny, and um, baseball, like that's when you first learn that on like max preps, they give you like 10 to 15 extra pounds and like 2 inches of height. It's like, oh, I'm 6'2" and 175. Didn't realize that. And so, you look at like the rest of the guys on the team. It's like, oh yeah, they beefed us up a little bit, but it was always really skinny, right? And I could never put on the muscle or the weight, right? And then you get to a certain point, which I always told people, I'm like, I don't think this is going to last forever. I know it's going to hit me at some point. Now it's the opposite, right? Like you're trying to cut down the fat, trying to, develop the muscle. But it's just interesting how that works. The goals have changed quite a bit.
Well, and I mean, since we're on the topic of health and fitness, for me personally, the older I get, like I see genetics like working against me. Like I have to work so much harder and be so much more disciplined. And I mean, I like my beer. It's really hard. Like,
Yeah, well, I was gonna say that's one of those things.
it is so hard. Alcohol is not good for you at all. I mean, I've known this obviously for a long time, but like
Yeah,
it's so bad for your metabolism. Does not help your body fight fat. I mean, it's not, and so I'm trying to just do my best and live a balanced life, but there are some weeks where I'm like, I'm not drinking this week. Like I can feel it like in my workout, and it pisses me off when I feel it
makes
in my
sense.
workout. Yeah.
See,
So
I've always had the advantage there because it's not something I've ever done
mm,
or enjoy, obviously. So I've never had that issue, but sugar is my thing, which you can kind of make the case. Those are kind of like, they're very similar, right? And how they affect
yeah,
your
yeah,
body.
yeah. I mean, yeah,
So
I don't
I'm
know
not,
which one's worse actually. Depends.
well, that's, I was gonna say, you could probably make the case that,
Yeah.
what I enjoy is worse. I don't know. But that being said, yeah, one day, everybody, if this podcast is still around and,
Mhm.
I don't know. I was gonna put a time frame on it. I don't know. A year or two when when it's shredded, come in here and just like a completely different person. Um, there we go. We can point back to this episode and say, look at
Just
that,
yeah,
goal accomplished.
just talk to Blake Kidwell and see what he does.
Yeah. He might be, yeah, he's built a little different though. I
Yeah,
made, yeah, I made
it's
plenty
like
of jokes. You guys will
like a
know
freaking transformer.
he is. I made plenty of jokes about that to him and Trav.
You
Like,
did.
oh, about how they look compared to me. Yeah, that's how I started the podcast off. I'm like, you guys don't be confused. This is Connectable. This is not the Hot Dads podcast that I somehow snuck into. I told them, I told those guys it was like for me, it was like I got a free gym membership for like how they do those promos for the week. You get to try the gym. You get to try the gym for a week, but you're not really a member of the gym. That's what I felt like with those guys. I came ready and loaded with those comments.
Oh
So,
my God, I
and they were
love it.
those guys are so nice. They came in. It's like, man, you're looking good. We're seeing the workouts and you're looking good. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Like, thanks.
Hey guys, just so you know, my self-esteem is really good and I can take it. We're not in the same category, both in the face or in the body. Like it's fine, guys. I get it. You know,
I can't
like
wait to listen to that episode.
it was a fun one. I'll tell you what, there were some definite challenges with, being in person with the mic and the placement of the mic. Like I'm used to the mic just being still. This is a better mic than you realize, for me at least. I realized, man, I bought some really cheap mics the first time
Oh,
around. And
oh,
it's
when we did in person, yeah.
so editing it, some of that stuff, I'm like, oh man, I can't even fix it. Like I get too close to the mic sometimes. It's like, have I ever podcasted before? A lot of stuff that drove me nuts at 4:30 or 5 in the morning.
Of course.
Yeah. So, but it was a really fun episode. I would encourage you guys to check that one out. Those guys are amazing guys. Obviously, Travis is a friend of mine. He's been on the podcast quite a few times. And in fact, he's been on the second most next to Jordan. And yeah, he's just a really, really good dude and a great dad. Blake, we've had the conversation with before on Character Combine. That was my first time actually meeting him in person. And
Hey,
obviously,
seen it more in person than you have. What?
oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me is one. Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
well, that's what I
Yeah.
mentioned to him because that came up on the podcast. How he was obviously the owner of that. I said, yeah, my co-host, who loves that place. He's like, oh yeah, see her all the time. So,
Oh,
yeah, he's a good dude and a great dad as well. So you guys definitely check that out. Check it out on YouTube as well if you don't mind, because
yeah.
I spent a lot of time on the video. So please don't make my lack of sleep, be all for naught. Check it out and give
When
it a
is it,
like
when is it dropping? Well, it'll drop before this one does, but
before this one. So as of this point, it will drop last week. In real time right now, it will
okay.
drop this week.
Okay. All
Figure
right.
that out, guys. So anyways, that's enough about that. But Deb, where can they follow us?
You guys can follow us on Twitter at Connectable Pod, Instagram at Connectable Podcast. We're on Facebook, and then obviously YouTube as well. And is that it? Did I get it all?
I think so. Yeah. And then if you guys just subscribe on your favorite podcast app if you can head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review, that would be awesome. I think we're sitting at 22 right now. 21 5 stars, 1 star. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. Who knows? Based on Deb's story.
I was just blaming on someone I went on a date with.
Yeah. Hey man, if you're out there listening, I don't care what she did or what she posts. Don't let this hurt me. Okay. I haven't posted any bikini pictures. So if you can keep that in mind before you press that submit button on that 1-star review, I'd appreciate it, bro. So that being said, that applies to any of the exes that are out there ready to bash our podcast. So yeah.
Surprisingly, I will throw this out there, and I talked to Crystal on her podcast, but I am more friends with more of my exes than ever. It is the weirdest thing. I don't know why. I don't know where that came from. So yeah, I'm a pleasant person. Like my exes still like me for the most part, the ones that I talk to.
See, which is probably, that could be keep that in mind for one of your topics for Not Here to Judge. That's interesting. That's not bad. Oh, let me just toss this out there. This could have been off air, but I'm gonna say it on air. One thing I would be interested to hear on your podcast is a lot of times with these dating things, when you hear dating stories, when you hear how things have gone wrong, when you hear how things just didn't work out between two people, men or women, I've heard stories on both sides. Rarely do you hear it from the perspective of what that person did, like why that person messed it up. Usually it's from the perspective of like the other person's a clown. Thankfully I got out of that situation, and I'm sure you've had those conversations with people before, but I would be not for you specifically, but I'm just interested, like, how do you deal with a situation like that where someone's like, yeah, you're saying all these things, but our group of friends kind of knows it's your fault. You know what I mean? Like, we see it in you. It's just an interesting thing. It's like rarely do you hear that perspective of like, hey, I messed this up. Or so anyways, just a thought. You don't need my thoughts on content, but I'm just interested because you rarely hear that.
Right. Oh yeah, because a lot of people don't want to own up. It's embarrassing. A lot of people don't want to own up to what they did, and it's so much easier to blame the other person for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, my thought process is going. So,
and again, I don't know all your situations at all, so I'm not speaking to you, but just in general, like, it's something that, like, I've heard guys even talk about. It's like, oh yeah, she was this and this and this. I'm like, yeah, but you've shared the story like 15 times. Like, maybe you need to look in the mirror. You know what I mean? Maybe your mirror's broken. I don't know what the situation is, but you need to figure something out, because there's a pattern here. So I'm just curious.
Interesting. Okay, that's good. That's it. Yeah, because that's a good one.
Just keep it just a thought. I wanted to toss that out there. Take it or leave it. Doesn't matter to me. So, okay, perfect. Well, thank you guys, as always, for tuning in and listening, and we will see you next week. See ya. Thanks for watching the show. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the subscribe button to get a new episode every week. We'll see you next time on the Connectable podcast.